All right, title game. This is what we're doing. We're going to the race now in the SEC since we just finished their games. I know I have the graphic here. Here we go. This is what the SEC looks like. Now, it's very simple to say, Sam, that Texas A&M and Alabama are meeting in the conference championship. Is that your take on the situation?
Yeah, I think those are the two best teams, and I feel pretty confident about Alabama in their game against Auburn. Texas A&M has to travel to Austin on a Black Friday, and that just doesn't feel like a spot that I want to be hinging my bets on. However, I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about those two. I racked my brain around like how could Ole Miss and Georgia get in here? Could Texas sneak in here? I think it's those two. I think they went out.
It's going to be tough because even like Georgia, Bama's got, the head-to-head. And Georgia also has the head-to-head against Ole Miss. So like you flesh this out, it's really just like, yes, Texas could get in there in theory, but they got to beat Georgia and they'd have to beat A&M at the end of the year. They're not winning both those games.
Yeah.
And so my prediction is Bama and A&M. And I actually think A&M's going to win. That's my prediction.
I think they're better than Alabama because I think Alabama's incredibly one-dimensional on offense. Like Alabama cannot run the football against anybody.
Yeah. And it should be noted that Bama has, this is why there's a window though, because Bama has OU this weekend, Oklahoma, and they have Auburn at the end of the year, which we know anything can happen. A&M has South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. So like Bama has like if they take care of their business, they'll be just fine. But if they lose, I guess that's still only one loss, but then they have the head-to-head. So I mean,
I think there's a little bit of revenge factor. The game's in Tuscaloosa, where again Alabama is
for Oklahoma. Yeah, the revenge factor because Oklahoma kept them out of the playoff last year,
and like that's going to be on my ticket this week. Is Bama covering that spread against Oklahoma?
Yeah, I kind of like that play too. This is the odds. Sam sent me these, so we'll just put them up here, and I think it's a good perspective.
If you're not on YouTube, this is a YouTube episode.
Yes, it's a primarily YouTube episode, and we are streaming live. So anyone who's watching now is here. And Bama plus 110 to win the conference, A&M plus 160. So it's tight. It's very tight. And that Texas at plus 1,500. Damn. I mean, it makes sense, but
juicy. It's a little juicy.
It's a little juicy, Texas, man.
If like, here's the thing. I could very well see a world in which Texas goes 1-1 against Georgia and Texas A&M. And like kind of throws a wrench into this. But I could also like if Texas wins one of those games, they're probably getting in the playoff. That'll really piss some people off when the first 9-3 teams give Texas.
I think we're also forgetting like Texas looked bad for most of the season. And then they got a good win against Vandy. And it's like, oh, they're good again. I don't know if they're that good. Like they might get pantsed against Georgia.
I mean, they might. They very well might. But what if they don't? And again, like Georgia, again, is one of those teams where if you're going to get them, you got to get them in your place. It's incredibly difficult to go between the hedges and get a win. And I don't really see it.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the Big Ten. Indiana squeaked by Penn State. We talked a little bit about that game at the top. 27-24, last second touchdown by Indiana on the catch that Sam did call one of maybe the greatest catches we've seen in college football. It reminded me a little bit of like the Santonio Holmes catch in the Super Bowl.
Oh, good comp.
With the toes coming down. Although this was like the inverse toe coming down, like absolutely crazy looking. The title game race, Sam already said it. Ohio State and Indiana, they're clearly in the driver's seat. Indiana has like shit left. They're gonna be fine. Pardon me, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Bless you.
OSU has UCLA, Rutgers, and then at Michigan. Now, this is the only thing I'll say because we all know it's probably going to be Ohio State and Indiana. But if Ohio State were to lose to Michigan, Michigan could potentially take their place in the title game because they'd have the head-to-head, and they currently only have one loss. It's unlikely, but it's possible. I mean, Ohio State fans would have a huge meltdown, and then Ohio State would probably still go and win a national championship again if that happened.
I'll pull up the odds here, the DraftKings odds. So Ohio State at -150. So very heavily favored, considering also that this market probably has a 4 to 5% vig on it. That's a pretty that's a pretty steep price to pay. Uh, Indiana 130. It's basically telling you that's going to be the matchup. Man, why not put a flyer on Michigan or Oregon? Like
I mean, yeah.
if something happens, plus 2,000 for Michigan, all they got
The
to do is
game's
beat
in the
their
big
rival.
house.
I
Like, like that's the one. That's the play. Like because they've done it. Michigan has done it. Last year, they had no business beating them. Absolutely none.
Do you so I'm getting also a lot of like USC to the playoff chatter is like there's still a path, there's still a path.
Oh, there's a path, but it's unlikely.
I think you would have to get 4 teams from the Big 10. And I don't know if that's happening.
It could happen
because of what's happening in the SEC.
Yes. It could happen if Notre Dame drops out.
Yeah.
Big 12 and ACC end up with 1. Like it could happen, but it's probably going to be 3. Now, if USC, they got to play, they have Oregon still, right? And they have Iowa this weekend, I think.
Yeah. In LA, I think.
Yeah, it's in LA. And then
Trojans by 20.
I know, like that's shitty for them, but all right, that's going to do it for the Big 10. College Football Monday is brought to you by Jack and Coke. 2 legends, 1 can. You can see that can right on your screen. The #1 cocktail in the world is available in a can. Yes, it's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey mixed with Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. You can get Jack and Cherry. You can get Jack and Vanilla. And you can get all 3 of those flavors in the variety pack. They're all available in a can at your local grocery and convenience stores, beer stores, liquor stores. Depending on your state, go to that store. You will find it, and they are delicious. So easy to bring to the tailgate. There's no mixing needed, and they are, you're guaranteed that perfect mix. Sometimes, you have a heavy hand when you make them. Sometimes there's not enough alcohol. You don't have to worry about that with pre-made Jack and Coke. Ready to drink. So when you're having those drinks, please drink responsibly, but you can't go wrong with 2 legends, 1 can. You know that. You know that's right, Sam. In the title game race for this conference, Sam had this broken down pretty good. We've got 3 1-loss teams here: Texas Tech, BYU, and Cincinnati. Texas Tech is 6-1, so they've played an extra game compared to BYU and Cincy. And BYU and Cincy have to play each other. So how do you see this playing out?
Yeah. So I'm going to go down the top 6 that are actually listed here that have a shot real quickly and show you some of their wins. So Texas Tech up there at #1. They have wins over BYU, Utah, and Houston. Their loss was to Arizona State. They have to play Central Florida and West Virginia left. So they look pretty comfy right there. BYU has the tiebreaker win over Utah and Iowa State. Cincinnati has beaten Iowa State and Baylor, but lost to Utah. Houston, their only really meaningful win right now is Arizona State, which is giving them some issue, and they don't have a chance to play any of the other teams around them. So Houston needs a lot of stuff to go around them. Utah, they've beaten Arizona State, they've beaten Cincinnati, but they lost to the top 2 teams. They play Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas. So they need a lot of help. And then Arizona State, they have against Texas Tech, but they lost to Utah and Houston. They very well should finish 7-2. They play West Virginia, Colorado, and Arizona. I think they win those games. But again, they need a lot to go on around them. So I have all the scenarios for how those teams get to the title game. But let's talk the betting line first.
Yeah, so Texas Tech, heavy favorite here, -290 to win the conference. BYU's next up at +650, Cincinnati +800, and then so on and so forth. Utah +1100, but their issue is getting in. Like Utah would have a hard time getting in. They've lost to both Texas Tech and BYU. So you need, who do you think would have the best chance to beat Texas Tech, Sam? Because we just saw BYU get owned.
Maybe healthy Arizona State again, but they're not going to have Sam Levitt, and I don't think they do it.
Yeah.
So I would say probably Cincinnati with Brendan Sorsby as a dynamic quarterback. I think Cincinnati could. Now, here's the issue. Cincinnati hasn't really beaten anybody that good this year.
No.
and they really won't have a chance to. They have a very favorable schedule. So
It's the
we'll
BYU
see.
game.
Yeah, we'll see. So
I think Cincy's going to get that BYU game though.
I do too. So let's go into that. So Texas Tech, to make the Big 12 title game, all you need is one win. One win and you're in. Doesn't matter anything else. They have 2 games left. One win, you're in. All right. BYU. BYU, their 2 scenarios are they win at Cincinnati and then one of the other games, or they go 2-1 with their loss being to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati loses 2 more games.
Okay.
Same scenario for Cincinnati, but flipped. So that Cincinnati BYU game is basically for a trip to the Big 12 title game.
Yes.
Yeah. Houston, they need to go 2-0, and they need both BYU and Cincinnati to go 1-2.
Unlikely.
You're right. And those 2 teams playing each other like kind of makes the doomsday scenario very unlikely. Utah, they need to go 3-0. They need Texas Tech to go 0-2. They need Cincinnati to lose a game, and they need BYU to go 1-2.
I mean, that's not going to happen. See, for Utah though, getting in the playoff is just take care of your business, and you might have a shot.
So here's the thing: like if BYU wins out, and Cincinnati or BYU, so like maybe let's say Cincinnati wins out, BYU goes 2-1.
Okay.
And then
Utah and BYU would have the same record.
Yeah, and then let's say like Arizona State wins out, which we think they probably should. You would have wins over a 9-3 a dominant wins over a 9-3 Arizona State team, a 10-2 Cincinnati team playing for the title. You would have a 3-point loss on the road to a very good BYU team. And you would have a win. Then your other loss would be Texas Tech, who is in the playoff already. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a good resume. The problem is if they have the same record as BYU, like BYU has to get in.
Yep.
And
then the last
Utah's
one,
kind of screwed.
Yeah, Utah is kind of screwed here. And then the last one, Arizona State, buckle up. They have 2 scenarios. Need to go 3-0 in both of them. Scenario 1 has Texas Tech going 0-2. Utah loses a game. BYU goes 1-2, and Cincinnati goes 1-2. Or they go 3-0. Houston loses a game, Utah loses a game, BYU goes 1-2, Cincinnati goes 1-2. So they need either Houston to lose a game or Texas Tech to go 0-2.
But that's Arizona State to be in the championship game. That's crazy.
That's Arizona State to be in the championship game.
That's wild, man. And that's not going to happen either because they stink. Like they're not very good right now. Like they don't have their quarterback.
If you don't know, Sam Levitt out for the year. So they're rolling with Jeff Sims. They did win a gutsy win at Iowa State. That Arizona State defense is very good. Jordan Tyson has been in and out with injury, their star wide receiver. It's not been a great year for the Sun
I would
Devils.
say this about the BYU thing, or for Utah's, BYU could fade here. Like they could lose their next game and then they could lose to Cincy and then Utah's there.
BYU could lose the next 2 games.
Like I feel like they're that team that's on the edge right now. Like they just had their first depressing loss. It didn't go well. Does that break them, or are they just fine the next week? They come out like gangbusters and beat the next team.
I mean, my prediction is Texas Tech versus Cincinnati.
Mine's Texas Tech.
I think Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Texas Tech versus Cincinnati. Yeah, Texas Tech wins the championship. That was all right. That's enough about the Big 12. That we went deep on that. It's time for ACC. Whatever. Let's move to the race. And so this is where we may end up throwing our hands up here. But as you look at the screen, we've got 5 teams tied with 1 loss in the conference. Now Duke has 1 less win than the others, but 5 teams with 1 loss. Louisville is at 4-2. Miami at 3-2. Miami is our highest ranked team in the SP Plus and the FPI, but they are 7th place in the conference, which is just hysterical.
Not ideal.
The second best team in SP Plus is actually Pitt at number 24, and they've been on a roll. Pitt has been rolling. FSU is 3rd at 28th in the SP Plus. Yes, Florida State, who is under 500, is 28th in the SP Plus.
Florida State beating Kent State and Texas A&M School for the Deaf and Blind 70-0 in back-to-back weeks is doing a whole lot of work
And
for
the
them
and the
right
Bama
now.
win. I mean, the Bama win is carrying that SP plus. We know that was a total fluke at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
GT is the highest ranked team in the AP poll at number 14. They have the best strength of record because they only have one loss overall.
Mhm.
And they just have BC and Pitt left in conference and then Georgia.
They played Pitt in Atlanta, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
That's
I think
huge.
Georgia Tech should win that. Like Georgia Tech should win the next two, and then they have a showdown with Georgia. But I think Georgia Tech should be in the ACC title game. Pitt has been really good. I think competition has done a bit of lifting for Pitt as well. And now there's a good amount of film on this freshman quarterback as well. We'll see how they look against Notre Dame, but Georgia Tech should handle Boston College is horrific.
They're
Like
bad.
absolutely horrific. And I think they should handle Pittsburgh in
Oh,
Atlanta.
although, BC is so bad and they stayed with number 9 Notre Dame for about 3 quarters. And
And they
so
got
like
boat race this week. Who knows what you're going to get?
right. Well, this is the annoying part about the rankings is that Notre Dame can do no wrong because they have won all these games in a row and they're against nobody. I mean, they beat Navy this weekend and they won and they crushed. Horvath didn't play. Like they get done every single favor. Like it's so annoying. So I would love nothing more, even though I hate Narduzzi and I hate Pitt. I would love nothing more than them to beat Notre Dame.
Narduzzi said this game doesn't matter.
I know, but like, okay, so part of that Narduzzi, I wanted to like, Narduzzi pisses me off to no end. I can't even believe he said that. But I'll say this: I want Pitt to beat the crap out of Notre Dame. I want them to cover. I think they're gonna cover. I think that Narduzzi might have been doing a little bit of like get Notre Dame feeling good kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
because I think he wants to win the game. I think he wants to win the game very bad, and maybe I shouldn't be so angry at him because this is his evil genius coming out. I don't freaking know.
So a couple of things with the ACC. I wanted to point out SMU. They have 2 pretty big games. They host Louisville, and then they play at Cal. They could go 2-0. They could go 0-2. That's Louisville game is going to be really big. We already talked about Louisville and some of their big wins this year. In terms of the college football playoff, if Miami goes 10-2 and USF and Notre Dame make the playoff, could Miami be the sole representative of the ACC in the college football playoff, even if they don't win the title?
All right, so
because there is a scenario if Duke somehow wins against a UVA team without Chandler Morris and not a lot of really good convincing wins and some bad losses, I could see the American Conference, like there is a world
where you're saying that the ACC gets left out of the playoff in terms of the champ.
But Miami gets the at-large because they would have 2 wins over the field.
Okay, so
and maybe nobody else in college football would have that.
What Sam is getting at is that there are no guarantees for conference champions. As a power conference member, you assume that your conference champ is getting a lock in because they guarantee 5 spots to the top conferences, and there's only 4 main conferences. However, if we have a champ that wins and they aren't very good, like Duke, who has 3 out of conference losses and 1 in conference loss already, then there's a world where JMU and the American champ could be ranked ahead of Duke, and thus they would get the automatic berths. And so you could have Duke as a champ, and then, like Sam said, Miami at 10-2, or somebody like, here's a good example too. Like Georgia Tech could beat Georgia, go 10-1, lose to Duke, and then they could get the large
over Duke, who beat them.
Right.
Yes. I think this is stupid. That would be the correct decision to put Georgia Tech in ahead of Duke, even if they lost that ACC title game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's if Duke wins the ACC gets left out.
I think they would find
it's possible, but at the same time, Duke has to win out for this to happen, essentially. Like it may be not if all the teams lose multiple games, but if Duke doesn't win out, they're not going to win the ACC. And so if Duke wins out, it means they go 8-4 and then they get a win in the championship game, what's going to be over a ranked team, 90% chance. And then that will spurn them to be 9-4 and get a decent ranking. Like, I don't think there's a world where the ACC can get left out, especially once we get to the American and all the crap that could happen there. Like, there's a lot of losses that still have to come in a lot of conferences.
Yeah, but if South Florida
South Florida could run the table. The thing is,
they have two losses.
They
got
you need them
to be a one loss. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have the USF or Tulane or whatever versus JMU conversation in a minute.
Yeah,
nevertheless, our predictions for this conference, and if you go through all the stuff that can happen, I like SMU's path because Louisville has to play Clemson this weekend. I like the bounce back for Louisville, but they don't have to do it against SMU. They're doing it against Clemson. So say Louisville wins that game, then they get to play SMU after SMU has a bye. SMU beats Louisville, then they have at Cal. Not an easy game, but a very winnable game. And so in my head, if SMU beats Louisville in 2 weeks after their bye, they got a good shot at getting to this championship game. A very, very good shot. And if they get there and they play Georgia Tech, which is my current prediction, because I think Georgia Tech will either beat Pitt or do enough to be one of the two teams in the championship game, I think SMU beats Georgia Tech. I think they're playing better on defense than they were in the past. Georgia Tech just looked horrific on defense against NC State. I think if it comes down to Georgia Tech and SMU, I think a healthier Kevin Jennings at that point in the year,
that's scary.
He's getting a bye week. Like, SMU could win this conference, and that's my prediction right now. Like, because you try to even figure out who's going to be in the game, that's hard. But if SMU gets there, I think they win it.
Same matchup, but give me the Yellow Jackets.
You have the same matchup.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
I think there's the Pitt. I think Miami drops one more. I don't trust Louisville.
I don't trust Miami at all.
I don't trust UVA, especially without Carson. Without Chandler Morris, and I don't trust Duke. So I'm left with trusting Kevin Jennings and SMU, and I know I trust Georgia Tech. So it's almost unfortunate because I do think this was setting up to be like a really interesting and nationally relevant year for the ACC. Just the non-conference games didn't go their way.
No, they did not.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech being dog shit probably doesn't help either.
Oh, it didn't. It didn't help at all. We lost two of the SEC games on our own, and then we lost ODU.
Yeah,
Duke probably beats UVA, but then they have the UNC game. Who's playing
7.5 point favorites. 7.5 point favorites against UVA at home.
Yeah, they're gonna win that game, and then they got UNC, and then Wake. Wake could beat Duke.
Duke could go 0 Duke could like end the season 0-4.
They could, and I don't think their coach is a winning coach, and so that would help the case for Duke losing. But in reality, we want Georgia Tech to take care of their damn business, go to the championship game with a good record, beat Georgia if you can. That would be great for the conference. And like, if Pitt runs the table too, like that's also good because if Pitt goes 10-2 and finishes with GT, Miami, and Notre Dame wins, like they could get an at-large bid to the playoff. They could. Now, in that world, they're in the ACC title game, and they probably would win if they're that good. But you just want the scenario where one of these teams that's currently ranked wins the rest of their games. And maybe maybe this is coming for the other conferences over the next 2 and 3 weeks, and we're getting it out of the way, and like our top dogs start to win some damn games. But like this has not been happening to the SEC. This has not been happening to the Big Ten, where their top elite brands, and we don't, and that's the issue is we don't have elite. But our best teams are losing. The best teams and the Big Two aren't losing, and it's frustrating. I mean, it's not even frustrating. It's just like, of course they're not losing because those conferences have good teams.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
But I think we got it. But I am glad to see that we both have GT versus SMU for the championship game.
I was kind of surprised. I thought you would have had Pitt.
I was close. I was close. I mean, Pitt, just that Pitt having Miami and GT, like
A little much.
that's a lot. And I kind of do think Pitt will like crush Miami. I kind of do think they will last game of the year. Like, especially because Miami has to come to us and then go to Pitt.
They're gonna be
Like
so chilly and
back to
cold.
back road games. Like
Yeah.
that's no good. There
But
was
if we pull up the American standings, I think it'll paint the picture of what's going on here, where you have 4 teams sitting at 4-1, Navy at 5-1, and then Memphis down there at 4-2. But what's funny about that is Memphis beats South Florida, and they get to play Navy. Tulane has a win against Memphis on the road, so they feel pretty good about that. They also have a win against East Carolina, who is sitting at 4-1 as well. North Texas has a win against Navy, the only team to beat Navy, but they got crushed by South Florida. So it's unlike the ACC and the Big 12, and like where some of these teams just don't play each other. All of the top 6 teams in the American have played or are going to play each other.
yeah.
And it is absurd. Like
The scenarios
how
in this
crowded the top
conference.
of this conference. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not even going to go into like the scenario building like we did with the Big 12 because it's too much. It's just too much.
Because of the amount of teams. And like Memphis isn't out of it, but the head-to-head loss against Tulane is bad for them. And they do have they have a tough finish too. They got ECU and Navy, and ECU is one of these one-loss teams. I mean, they've been good.
Yeah. And Navy's game against Army does not count towards American standings.
That's
It's
correct.
a non-conference game.
That's correct. The Army Navy game is not included. USF plays Navy this weekend.
Yep.
And Horvath should be back. So like that is a scary game if you're South
What was
Florida.
he out with?
I don't know.
I didn't catch what he was out with. I mean,
They did it very last minute. Like I wouldn't have taken.
They pulled him.
I wouldn't have taken Navy with the points if I knew.
Oh,
that.
look, the United States Navy with another misinformation campaign. Happy Veterans Day.
But if USF gets past Navy, then they have UAB and Rice, and they should be golden.
Handle those, yeah.
Should.
I think that game's in Tampa, right?
The Navy game?
Yeah.
No.
It's in Annapolis. Oh, okay. That makes it yucky. That makes it yucky. I will say this. I like USF's defense against the triple option. I think if there is a team that can handle that, it's them. And then their next 2 games, they should walk through those games.
Tulane has at FAU, who has they're not good, but whatever. And then they go to Temple. And that game for Tulane,
they're home against FAU. It's homecoming.
Okay. Okay. Home for FAU at Temple in the link in 2 weeks. That's a loss, or at least it's a very scary game. That's
a really scary game.
Temple has a bye this week too, dude. Temple has a bye, and then they get Tulane at home in the cold weather. Do you remember what happened to Tulane in the American Championship game last year when they went up to the cold weather?
They got boat raced by the Black Knights.
They got crushed by Army. And so that's not great for Tulane. Navy has USF and Memphis. The Army game, like you said, isn't a conference game. But Navy, I'm not counting Navy out, but like this USF game is everything for them. Like they need this one. North Texas lost to USF head-to-head, but they have an easy finish. They have UAB, Rice, and Temple at home, not at the link.
They're the one wild card team that doesn't really play anybody else. And then we should also remember,
look at their record.
Yeah. One of the tiebreakers in the American is college football playoff ranking and or computer metrics. Right now, as you pointed out to me today, North Texas is the highest computer rated team pretty much across every metric in this conference.
Yeah, and I don't know what computer rankings they use when it gets to outside the top 25 for the committee, but if North Texas, they're the only team in this conference that has 1 loss overall, not just in the conference, like overall, they're 8-1. And so yes, the schedule is weak. Their strength of schedule is so weak right now. It's 126 in FPI and 102 in Collie. JMU is worse in Collie, but better in FPI. So it kind of depends. Like if it came down to that later, that's interesting. But in terms of the American, with the 1 loss, if they stay there, they're going to win any of these computer rankings.
Mhm.
And so the tie in the standings to go to the AC title game, it would go to North Texas. If they stay clean, they're going to be in that title game. I would almost guarantee it. And so my prediction is USF versus North Texas.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I like the USF matchup with Navy. I just the way that defensive front seven plays, I think is kind of tailor made to stop a run first team.
Yes.
Because they didn't really stop North Texas when USF played them. There was turnovers. It wasn't like 3 and outs.
And I
So
also
give
would
me
say,
South Florida in this one.
you think,
Man.
well, do you think is your pick for the championship game those two teams?
I think I don't really like.
It's very hard.
Who do I like? I think Memphis might be the best team in the conference.
Right, but they have 2 conference
But
losses.
they have 2 losses already. It is very similar to the ACC in some ways.
It is. And like Tulane, I think is good, but you don't know what you're going to get from them week in and week out. Like especially the last like 4 weeks, it's been a little hit or miss. And so I think USF is the best team. I think they have 2 losses. One was to Miami. The other was a 3-point loss in which a game where they had the lead in the Liberty Bowl. They have the best losses too. If you're looking at committee rankings later on, like USF has the potential to be the highest team. And so that's another reason where if this comes down to JMU or USF and JMU is 11-1 and USF is 10-2 with a championship, they both have championships. I think USF might get in over JMU.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they're only one spot behind them now, and it's a better conference.
But we'll talk. Do you want to move to the?
Yeah, let's move to Sun Belt.
Well, really, the only thing with the Sun Belt here is they have division still, the only conference that does. And then the last game of the season has JMU playing Coastal, who number 1 and number 2 in the East, and it has Southern Miss and Troy, number 1 and 2 in the West. So the winners of if both of those teams win out, the winners of those games would go to the Sun Belt title game. Now, I think JMU is a much better team than Coastal. So I think they should handle that. Southern Miss Troy is really interesting because Troy has been a little bit better team than people think. Southern Miss, though, quietly winning. It's very interesting. I think JMU should handle business against whoever else they play.
I think so.
But we've seen it happen in the Sun Belt before where that title game can get a little weird.
The title game can get weird. That Coastal game last week of the season at the blue turf, the teal turf.
The man, oh man, like that's so scary.
That's a scary game for JMU. And if they lose that one, and Coastal they only have 1 loss, like Coastal takes their spot in the championship game.
Because I'll tell you, they started reeling against Marshall last week. JMU did. Like JMU was in control of that game, and then just like couldn't gain any yards.
Is there a hotter team in the Sun Belt than Coastal right now? I mean, you could say JMU and Southern Miss, but like
Coastal's had a little bit of like the ball keeps bouncing their way. And if you're JMU, you're like, let's hope that luck runs out by the time we travel down to Dirty Myrtle.
Coastal only has a trip to Georgia Southern left in conference before JMU.
Yep. And they should handle Georgia Southern.
They should. And so those games, that Troy and Southern Miss game and that JMU and Coastal game, they're big, but I think you're going to see JMU and Southern Miss in the championship.
I would say so too.
And then if that happens, I think JMU is winning. Since we're predicting. So USF wins the American, JMU wins the Sun Belt. If they're 1 loss apart, I do think they give it to USF.
I think they could give it to JMU.
They could.
Because
JMU is
if South Florida beats North Texas twice, I think you could make the argument like South Florida's path was North Texas wasn't as good as we thought they were. That could be an argument
because USF doesn't have.
It's not like an extra bullet point.
Well, the Navy win will be big for them. The Navy win would be big.
Yeah, but then we could also like with Navy's remaining schedule, like
they could lose more games.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the MAC. I've got a slide for this. We're going to move to the 3 final conferences here. Yep. We got Conference USA, the Mountain West, and the MAC. We'll start with the MAC. In the title game race, there are 4 teams. This was impossible, by the way. The MAC was the one.
I gave it like 10 minutes and I knew I wouldn't be able to figure it out.
I had, yes, same exact thing. This was the hardest one.
Mhm.
4 teams at 4-1: Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Buffalo, and Western Michigan. Toledo is probably the best team in the conference, but they already have 2 losses. Ohio is obviously good, but they play both Western and Buffalo on the road over the next 3 weeks. Buffalo has a tough finish with Central, Miami, and Ohio, but the Miami, Ohio, and Ohio games are both at home for Buffalo. Miami has Toledo at Buffalo and Ball State. Western probably has the easiest finish. So I'm penciling them into the championship game.
So one thing too is this Maction week on Tuesday and Wednesday, all these teams play each other.
Big games.
Ohio, Ohio, who just beat Western Michigan. Ohio plays they play at Western, right? Yeah, they play at Western.
Yeah,
Buffalo
Ohio.
plays.
Yep.
Buffalo
Ohio,
plays
Western.
at Central Michigan, and Toledo plays at Miami of Ohio. Revenge game for quarterback DeQuan Finn of the Miami Redhawks, who was at Toledo.
That's hilarious. Yes.
Yeah. So they all play each other this week in Maction.
It's
so
awesome.
I think this week will be like separation Saturday.
It could be
midweek.
But there are so many scenarios.
But if they turn around and lose the next week, like it kind of doesn't matter anymore.
But even Ball State and Central are still in this mix. Like,
yeah, but they're not good. Like they're not going to win. That's the thing too, is like,
I don't know. A lot of these teams have been beating each other, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even Bowling Green got in and beat a couple teams. Like, what's your prediction for the title game? The 2 teams.
I'm going to predict, as of right now, I'm going to predict Ohio and Buffalo. I think Buffalo has had a lot of injury issues, but I think they're a good team. I think they're going to win some games here. So Ohio and Buffalo.
I have Western and Buffalo. And Western was my feel better about it. Buffalo was kind of like, I don't know, but I'll say Buffalo. And then I think if Buffalo gets there, that means they beat the Ohio schools at home. I'm taking Buffalo to win the conference.
All right. I have a Buffalo over 8, and I have Buffalo something. I don't know.
There is so much carnage to
They've
come
had
in the
injury
MAC,
issues this year, which has kind of sucked.
So much losses and wild stuff is about to happen in the MAC. I'm actually looking forward to it now. Conference USA. Sam Houston got their first win of the year against the poor
They
Beavers.
were outgained by like 300 yards and won that game. It's hilarious.
God, the Beavs, man. All right, so the title game race. What do you got here?
It's Kennesaw and Jack State. And Kennesaw State, I give so much credit to them. They returned some of the most production of anybody in college football. They've developed that production. They've had a great turnaround. They're a pretty good team. Former Hokie wide receiver Christian Moss having a good year for them.
For Kennesaw, yeah. True. I love what Jacksonville State has done in a first year of a head coach. Like, it's because they won the league last year, but then they lost Rich Rod and they lost everybody else. And so it's really impressive. They actually play Kennesaw State this week, does Jacksonville. But even regardless of the result, I'm with you. I think these 2 teams still get to the championship game.
Jacksonville State is a very good running back too.
The one to watch is Western Kentucky, I think. Like they're a team to watch that could potentially crash this party. They have MTSU, and then they go to Jacksonville State last week of the regular season. So that's very interesting. I was actually, before I actually did this whole exercise, spent 10 minutes on it, 15. I came up with Jacksonville State and Missouri State. And then I texted you. I was like, they're not eligible. I can't.
They're good too. It kind of
really
sucks.
Good.
Like they're a good team. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jacksonville State and Kennesaw. I think J State wins the conference.
I'm going Kennesaw State to win the conference.
Okay. All right. Nice. Differ on that one. And then Mountain West is up on your screen as well. So Boise got smoked by Fresno. The new QB looked terrible. He had a single-digit QBR. Did the new quarterback for Boise. That was not good. And then Hawaii, dude. The Rainbow Warriors crushed San Diego State.
Stomped them in the rain on the islands. San Diego State's had a couple games this year where their offense didn't show up. And both have been on the road. Both have been in not great weather. So it's something to keep an eye on. UNLV can't play defense at all, and I think it's going to keep them from a playoff spot because their offense is so freaking good. I still think San Diego State's the best team in this conference right now, but there is a world for
sure. I
Hawaii to
think
get
so.
in as well, which would be really fun.
Dude, Hawaii has a trip to UNLV in 2 weeks. So Hawaii has a
Mhm.
bye. That it seems like a loss in my head, but then I was hearing like there's a lot of Hawaiian influence in Vegas. Have you ever heard that? Like
I
there's
can imagine it,
a
yeah.
lot of transplants, like a lot of Hawaiian food, all this kind of stuff. The guys on TCE were talking about it, and I mean, that game could go either way. Like
They're
Hawaii could beat
playing really
UNLV.
well.
Yeah.
They're playing really well, and they've won a lot of road games too.
So that's a
So,
huge game in
yeah.
this race. UNLV, outside of that Hawaii game, like it's manageable. They play Utah State, who's decent, then at Nevada at the end. It could be any of Hawaii,
No,
Boise, UNLV,
yeah.
or New Mexico with San Diego State. Like New Mexico has a shot at this thing, man.
Yeah. I
Like
think
they're
like
playing well right now.
Boise without Maddox Madsen kind of scares me. And they've
That's why
also
I
had
eliminated them
like
because I don't know what I'm getting.
their wide receivers had some disciplinary issues too, and that defense looks like they lost some of their best players. Like they returned a lot of players, but they lost like their 4 best players outside of Madsen. And I think it's not they might have a little bit of a leadership void on that team, is what it looks like. But they're still favored to win this conference.
Yeah, Boise State still favorite. I think I mean, that's because people who don't know about Maddox Matson are taking these bets. I just think that that's silly at this point. San
I
Diego
mean, they're
State should
pretty even with San Diego State too. Plus
San Diego
150
State
versus
should be the
plus
favorite to
160.
win. I have San Diego State going up against UNLV with State winning because I'm going with my guy Mullen. And I know that you're concerned about the defense. Keep in mind about Mullen and the defense. It's year 1. He has no business with this UNLV team competing for a conference championship.
I think who does Boise have left? Do you have that pulled up?
Yeah, I've got it here.
Yeah.
Boise 54th in the SP Plus. What are they at here?
Because I think
so San Diego State is hosting Boise this weekend.
Yeah, okay. So I knew there was one more big matchup left. Dude, I really like San Diego State to win this thing.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going with them as the winner.
On the islands in the rain. It happens. You move on to the next game. San Diego State's best is really good.
I'm rooting for Hawaii to make the championship game.
Me too. San Diego State Hawaii rematch in Vegas. Oh, that'd be good. Give it.
And you know, if UNLV gets there, great. Like this was another really tough one to pick outside of San Diego State. So that does it. In terms of the Pac-12 and the independent teams, Oregon State did beat Wazoo 2 weeks ago. Inexplicably, because I felt like Wazoo is a much better football team, but it didn't matter. And then they followed that up, the Beavers did, by losing to Sam Houston. So figure it out. College football is just tremendous stuff. Notre Dame and UConn, the other independents, the only independents, they got big wins this weekend. Both very different type of wins, but they both got wins. So that rounds out the entirety of college football. In terms of playoff picks, I'll put up Sam's first.
Mine's not a lot of change. I think it's actually the same as it was last week, except my G5 representative is now JMU. I think they have the clearest path. I think their loss is a good loss. And I think you can also argue in that loss, they didn't have their starting quarterback healthy. I think that matters. So I'm going to put JMU in there.
The JMU thing, as we discussed with USF, is interesting because the Louisville loss, it hurts them, right? Like if Louisville continues to look bad, like that hurts them.
I also think too, it's like USF splashes on film so much.
Yeah.
That also hurts them. But I have Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas out of the SEC, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana out of the Big Ten, Georgia Tech representing the ACC, Texas Tech representing the Big 12, Notre Dame in there as an independent, and then James Madison.
Yeah, you did stay
pretty neutral here. Yep.
I switched. So last week I only had 4 SEC teams in, and I had both Texas Tech and BYU. But because of the nature of that loss for BYU, they had to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, did we both have Memphis last week? I think we did.
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think so.
I put in USF.
Mhm.
I think they're the American champ. I think they're going to get in. And you got to keep in mind, even if JMU does go 11-1, they could easily lose to Southern Miss, and then, USF gets it that way. I just think USF is the best G6 team. That's why
You are jumping the shark here. Oklahoma in here in the SEC.
Yeah, so I
Well-
added an extra team to the SEC, and I'll tell you why. So Sam has Texas, and in some ways,
Who beat Oklahoma?
That makes a lot of sense because Texas beat Oklahoma. But what if, Sam, Texas loses to Georgia and A&M? Then they have 4 losses. And if Oklahoma, even if they lose to Bama this weekend and they end up at 9-3, Oklahoma's probably winning their last 2 games. It's LSU and it's another like relatively easy SEC team. I think Oklahoma goes 9-3 and they're the 5th team. Because as I've said for a lot of times, even if it hasn't always reflected in my picks, like they want to put 5 SEC teams in here.
Would they be the 12? Oh, sorry, but would they be the 12 seed?
Oklahoma? No.
At 9-3?
No, it'd probably be SMU.
That's disgusting.
Like, because
Oklahoma's not a top 10 team in the country.
SMU has 3 losses, and I have SMU as my ACC champion. And so, if they're the ACC champ, they're going to be. I don't know if they'll be behind USF, but they're going to be back there because they're not even ranked right now.
I hope they're in there so I can bet against them round 1. How about that?
Bet against who in round 1?
Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but do you think they go? Do you think they're finishing the season at 9-3? Because
yes, but I don't think they're 9. Like, I think they need. I don't know.
They have a win over Michigan?
Yeah, but like, what is if
Michigan's pretty good,
comes
dude.
out and loses to Ohio State? Then you could point to Michigan and be like, okay, they lost to every good team they played. Like they lost to USC, they lost to Ohio State.
Michigan's going to finish with like 9 wins. This is why I'm just giving you the logic.
I'm giving you the Oklahoma does carry some weight. What I hate about this is there's way too much red on the screen.
Yeah, a lot.
Bad uniform matchups left and right in this playoff. I don't like it one bit.
My Big Ten's the same. It's Ohio State, it's Oregon, it's Indiana. It's getting more solidified all the time. Now USC can mess things up if they beat Oregon, but I think Oregon's going to win that game, and so on and so forth. So it's SMU. Yes, that is the shocker from the ACC. I said it earlier in the show, so it's not that much of a shocker. I think they're going to win the ACC, so I put them in here. Texas Tech is my Big 12 champ. I still have Notre Dame in here. Now, if Notre Dame loses to Pitt, they're gone, and it opens up a spot for either a second ACC team, a Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the SEC is getting 6 in. I really doubt that.
No.
But it could open up a 4th spot for the Big Ten as well. So the Notre Dame thing is going to be fascinating to watch here. But so for you and Texas getting in, you think they're winning out, or are they 9-3?
Well, I think this is as of right now where I'm predicting it. I think they could get in at 9-3. I think you also have to look at their first loss of the season was only by a touchdown to Ohio State on the road. And that's the best anyone's played Ohio State by a mile this year.
True. I know, but I always, the way I always approach these playoff picks is the end of the year. I'm always projecting at the end of the year.
Like Texas can win their way in and it not be a question. So,
if Texas beats Georgia this weekend, they're gonna have a really good case.
Mm-hmm.
My thesis on Oklahoma, it's banking on Texas losing 2 games.
Yeah, which very likely.
It's not that it's likely, but the chances are there. Like the A&M and Georgia are very good, and I don't think Texas is that good.
This is so much effort to see who's going to lose to Ohio State.
I know. I know. It's but it's fun. It's fun to talk about all this crap. But I am rooting for. I want the Notre Dame problem gone because I think the way the committee's overvaluing them is pissing me off, and I don't want to go through this exercise of because Vandy could be on these graphics, dude. Like, they lost to Texas, so that's their problem. But like Vandy or Notre Dame, If they're both 10-2, like Vandy should probably be in.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
And if Miami's 10-2 and Notre Dame's 10-2, Miami should probably be in over them. They probably should be. If Pitt's 10-2, well, that means they beat Notre Dame.
No.
So,
Yeah. That's
no, that would mean
you
they
had
beat
it.
Notre
You had
Dame.
it. You had the
Yeah.
line. Yeah.
All right. I'm good. We're done. All right. That's enough of that.